Welcome to the Paint, Rest, Repeat podcast with Ros Gervais and
Laura Day, where we chat about our creative lives as artists while keeping it real and a little bit messy.
We're here to inspire creatives just like you to push past those boundaries and make art that you love. Let's dive in.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
How are you, Laura?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I've got a mini little cold, so I don't know if you could tell, but I've got the husky voice going today.
You do have a husky voice. That's
So-
okay. We can work with that.
So sexy. Maybe this is like the start of my radio career, like traditional radio, commercial radio career. So anyway, sorry, back to the point. We are on episode 86 today, and we're going to be chatting about navigating perfectionism as female artists, because we sort of think perfectionism is a really big block and hurdle and challenge, particularly for female artists. What do you think about that one, Laura, before we dive in?
Yeah, I'd agree. And also, our audience is largely female artists as well. So I think it's important to talk on this topic and talk about the topic as women. Women do have a tendency for experiencing a lot of self-criticism, not measuring up, and also like bringing into the awareness of like a lot of artists are quite sensitive in themselves as well. So when they're not measuring up, and potentially it could come from childhood experiences, maybe, not measuring up at school or not feeling like they're good enough, or, in terms of like beauty standards and things like that. There is sort of a pattern that potentially can be formed at a young age. And yeah, just that sort of shows its head, it can be a perfectionistic trait that is developed into adulthood.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I think it does, sort of pop up early on for women and girls. I should say females and girls. Because I think we also like encouraged to be good girls and, to fit in as well. And that is that older school style of parenting as well that I think we all went through. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a challenge for a lot of us. But I think there's a big piece here in accepting that it is a thing, but then getting those strategies in place to make sure it's not holding you back from the future that you want to have.
Because that's what we talk about a lot in the podcast. It's all of these things and blocks and mindset shifts that are potentially holding us back in our art careers and stopping us into stepping into our fullest potential, into our confidence, into our power. So if we can have some awareness when those feelings and those traits are coming into play and are potentially inhibiting our growth and progress, then, that's an interesting thing to look at and witness, and maybe think about some strategies that you can implement in your life to overcome them.
Yeah, for sure. And so that's what we're talking about today. So we've got the perfectionism as a bit of a topic, but we're also going to be sharing some, steps and some tips to actually help you as our listeners to sort of remove, I don't think you can completely remove perfectionism, but just to pop it aside enough so that you can keep on moving forwards. So do you think we need to recap, what perfectionism is? So it's not really a recap, is it? But you know what I mean.
Well, I think it comes up when you are setting unrealistic high standards on yourself. And if anyone relates to being like an A-type personality or something like that, when you like really are a high achiever and you have been a high achiever, you feel like you have to prove yourself in some way, and receive like validation from others, then that's when it sort of comes into play. I think those sorts of personalities tend to experience perfectionism more than others that are a little bit more like cruisy and like, they sort of like go with the flow. Yeah, it's more of the A type
Yeah,
achievers that
as
experience
well
it.
though, like to interject, because I've been doing a lot of, learning about this recently myself, as well as just, so it's not only the A type. So A type, yeah, for sure, but then also those people who have had perhaps, a little bit of a difficult upbringing, and so it's stuck in them that they have to continue working super hard to prove their worth and to please others, and that is the only way that they can feel good about themselves. And so that is where perfectionism can pop up for those sorts of people as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I've experienced that in my life too, just never feeling good enough. And it's something that I have had to like really, really work on really hard to like sort of validate myself. And that's what we were sort of talking in the previous episode. It was like that validation and, sort of overcoming that the trust within yourself. And so being able to trust yourself and validate yourself. So this topic links in quite perfectly. Um,
Ironically, perfectly.
Ironically, yeah, it fits perfectly when we're trying to overcome perfectionism. But but it does. It's a good follow on from that, and it is something like an internal process that you sort of have to work on, especially when you're wanting, as a woman, like wanting to be like a leader in the community and work as like a successful creative business owner, working on those feelings of not measuring up, not feeling good enough. Yeah, I think it's important. So, shall we dive further in and maybe share a bit about some topics that might help
Some
people
steps.
experience this? Yeah.
Some steps and tips. Yeah, for sure. So I think, for us, we've agreed that the first step is to recognize that that is a barrier for you. So this might not be a barrier for everyone, absolutely everyone listening, but it is fairly common. And if that is a block for you and a hurdle and a challenge, that's the first step, recognizing that it is a thing, but not being hard on yourself in that sense, but just saying, yeah, that is definitely an element that is holding me back, and it's something that is going to be worth my time, just assessing and looking at and seeing if I can sort of reduce its impact, I suppose. So that's the first step. Second up, we have just that it's really, again, that self-kindness piece. So looking at where that hurdle might have come from. So where do you think this perfectionism stems from? And then going through that and sort of working through that self-kindness lens as well. And you've got a note here about the inner critic relating to that as well, Laura.
Yeah, I think especially when we're like aiming high for like some goals. So like maybe it's your first solo exhibition, or maybe you're running workshops and you're stretching yourself outside of your comfort zones. That's when it comes up, isn't it? So it's like, oh, okay, I'm a little bit unsafe. I've never done this before. I'm not sure what I'm doing. And then, that sort of comes into play. So yeah, I think looking at your inner critic, noticing when it becomes loud, and just trying to figure out what it's trying to say to you. Usually it's something along like, okay, this is not safe. I've not done it before. Like, hold yourself back. But yeah, it's just witnessing and then understanding where it might be coming from. And Roz and I are both big fans of journaling. And, we know that it's not, something that's for everyone. So maybe talking it through with a friend or talking it through with a mentor or something like that, a coach, that can really help. Like if you're verbalizing it externally and just saying, oh, look, I've seen this coming up for me. And, I feel like it's stemming from this. And then, they can help you navigate through like how to move past it. But yeah, you can do the internal work yourself by journaling too.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before as well, in the sense that art business and starting to sell your art, sharing it with the world, and all of that, it is such a self-development journey. So as an artist in business, we do need to be doing this self-work, and it doesn't need to be anything drastic, anything huge, but just looking at things like these mindset blocks that you may have, and trying to slowly work through those and improve the situation for yourself. So that was step two, was like looking at the background, your past experiences, where it might come from, paying attention to that inner critic piece as well. And then the last one we have in terms of steps is then to, really step into that power. So this is the positivity side of it. So it's like, yes, perfectionism is a challenge for me. This is where it probably stems from. And the next step is, okay, well, I'm going to step into my power. I'm going to work out a bit of a toolkit for myself so that I can start to remove this block or reduce the impact of this block. So yeah, so what do you think about the toolkit? What's in your toolkit specifically? You mentioned journaling, Laura.
Yeah, journaling, hiring a coach and helping me navigate like big things, especially like in terms of the retreat, that was a big initiation for me. So having someone, meet me when I'm at my most vulnerable and, sort of helping me like through that process. And then also just having that community. So having those one or two trusted friends, like Roz, you're one of mine, when you're navigating like those big hiccups in the journey, or, like you sort of hit a certain level and you're like, oh, okay, this is like a bit uncomfortable for me. So yeah, just having someone there that you can verbalize those things to.
Because you had a little bit of a perfectionist moment initially with the retreat planning. I think we've spoken about this in a previous episode, but maybe our listeners today have not listened to that episode. Do you want to retell that story just briefly?
Yeah, I know we are on a mini episode.
Oh yeah, sorry, just super briefly, super briefly. I'm always chatty, everybody. It's my fault. When we have long episodes, it's my fault. Blame it on me.
I think it was more about like releasing the pressure off myself and sort of embracing that mindset of done is better than perfect. So I think, when you're putting something out there, you want it to look like enticing and you want people to come and experience this amazing adventure with you. But like, with website tweaks and the wording in my emails and the way that I'm speaking about it online and, opening up for ticket sales and all of those different steps that, it comes into launching a big event, there are like I was faced with like different things and hurdles along the way. And, it's just like feeling vulnerable and feeling like, what I had put out there maybe wasn't good enough. So it can bring up those feelings when you are stretching yourself
Yeah, and
outside.
doing something for the first time, I think,
Yeah.
as well. Because I think, we have this vision of how it should be. So, you would have been to a retreat. So you would have this vision of how it
Mhm.
should be. And now it's your opportunity to deliver something that hopefully lives up to those expectations. So it's a big thing. I think it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so it's just about a lot of like releasing and just
Mhm.
being okay with done is better than perfect. So it's like, okay, those emails are out off into the universe. Okay, the website's out. I've communicated that. I've done my Instagram stories, like, and just sort of just that self-reflection on myself. And it is having those ridiculous high standards. Because from the outside, I'm sure like people are like, oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. And we are, they do say, we are our biggest
Mm,
critics. If we know
exactly.
everything.
Yeah. All right. So
Fire
tips.
tips. All right.
So, so I'll start with the first one. So, we've talked about it before. So, rewriting that belief and, sort of approach from mistakes or learning opportunities and an opportunity to grow. So, if you can journal or just sort of work on that belief that, I'm not measuring up, I'm not good enough, those sorts of things. If you can work on that, witness it and rewrite it, that's good. And then number two.
Number two, write down and practice some mantras, such as done is better than perfect. You can also exchange that for affirmations. And hot tip, the most uncomfortable affirmation is the best affirmation.
And then number three is surround yourself with people who take imperfect action. So yeah, really witnessing other people that are just like doing their thing, putting it out there, no fancy frills, just like doing their thing. And yeah.
Beautiful. And last or fourth one, stop doom scrolling. on socials and comparing yourself to others on the internet. It is so true because we only see surface level. You know, even recently, a really short story, Laura. Recently, my social media sort of strategy has sort of changed, and I've outsourced, and so my Instagram is looking really neat and schmick at the moment. And it might give off this, you know, vibe that I'm doing it all myself. I'm not. I've got help to do that, you know. So we don't know absolutely everything behind what we are seeing on socials. So just, yeah, don't fall into that trap.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all experimenting, like you're trying something new. And so that's when this stuff comes up. Okay. So number 5 is celebrating micro progress. So your small wins, it's so important to celebrate yourself and, you know, give yourself a tap on the back and just say, good job. Like you got that done. Maybe the wording wasn't perfect. Maybe there was a typo. Maybe your hair was a little bit messy on that Instagram live. But yeah, if you could just celebrate just putting it out there, no matter what, you're still like making like tiny little steps and you're working towards that big, amazing dream goal.
Love it. Well, that
Cool.
was a fun short episode.
It was a fun short episode. So you've got some things happening. You've got an exhibition. Did you want to quickly share that one?
Yes, so I'm taking part in a group show at Art to Art in Melbourne, and that actually opens tomorrow night. Looking at my calendar, Thursday, the 27th of February, and that is called Made with Love, and it's alongside the Unearthed Art competition for 2025. So if you are in Melbourne, go and get it amongst it because Philippa, who runs the gallery there, she puts on a great party, just letting you know. So make sure you do pop in. I believe it's free to go, but you do need tickets. So head to her website, Art to Art. I think it's .com.au. I think so. And go and grab a ticket there.
Great. And you're also going to invite people into your Facebook group as well?
Yeah, so for artists who are interested in learning how to paint, connecting with other artists as well, learning the art biz side of things, I do actually have a free community on Facebook and we are called Permission to Paint. So if you just pop into Facebook, search that up, you will find us completely free to join and I'd love to see you there.
Yay.
What are you doing, Laura? You've got coaching going on.
So we're recording this early and I'm currently in Vietnam, apparently. Even though if you're watching on YouTube, I'm still in my art studio. Anyways, I'm in Vietnam and over the next couple of weeks, I'm actually moving to Thailand. So that's what's happening in the background. But I'm also opening up spots for April for one-on-one coaching. So head to my website, laurajaneday.com/work with me. And I've got some spots for some free calls. So yeah, just put an inquiry through my website for that.
Amazing. Can I read a quick review before we wrap up?
Yeah, quickly. Yeah, go for it.
So this one, excuse my eyes. If you're on YouTube, excuse my eyes because I have to look at my other screen, which is all the way over here. Looks really weird on the recording. Anyway, so this review is by Kat Rack. And she is on Instagram as Rack Creative, so RAK Creative. And she has said, super helpful podcast. I'm loving listening to your podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to record them. They are full of insightful topics and information. And best of all, Roz and Laura are in Australia. It's lovely to hear homegrown truths from down-to-earth people who I feel live in the same backyard. Being in the art industry in this crazily connected world, it's refreshing to find people that feel like they've got my back, people I can relate to. Oh,
that's actually really lovely.
It is. Thanks, Kat. That's really beautiful. Go and give her a follow, everybody. And if you did enjoy this episode, hit subscribe wherever you are listening to this podcast and leave us a review as well. That would be amazing. So on Spotify, you can leave a star rating, 5 for good karma. And on Apple Podcasts, you can leave a written review. If you leave a written review, make sure that you leave your Instagram handle so that we can give you a shout out like we just did for Kat now.
Thanks for listening.
Pleasure. Is that what I meant to say?
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess so. All right, lovelies. We will see you all in the next episode. Have a lovely week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.